Hey everybody, I'm Eclipse, and you're awesome for watching Media Induced. Today I'm going to show you how I did the Eclipse that I did in my last video. And we're going to break it down so that you guys can make it as well at home. It's very easy to do, it's not very extravagant. The only plugin I used was optical flares, and you could just use a regular flare from After Effects yourself and just throw it on there. It'll look good. You have to tweak it a little bit, or you can just get a picture of an optical flare off the internet and use that. And so yeah, let's jump into it. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is make a new comp and make a new solid. We're going to label this solid shadow, and we're going to make it all black. So let's find black, click OK, and here we go. We have this new black solid, and what we need to do is make a circle. Now this circle is going to be the shadow of, it's basically going to be the moon, right? You want this black solid shadow of the moon, because it's basically the dark side of the moon. The sun is going to be on the other side of this solid. Now that we got that, we need to make another solid. Now it's perfectly round. That's okay. We can deal with that. If I turn on this, you can see that's just a black circle. That's where we're going to start with. And now we need to duplicate this one. And we're going to call this one sun. Because this is going to be the light coming out from behind the moon of the sun. It's going to be all the light that, it's going to be your basically your ring. So everything in this white circle, we're going to make the change, go to solid settings, we're going to change this to be white. And this is going to be the sun of all the light coming from the sun. Then we need to move that and drop it down below so that it's below the shadow of the moon. We're going to take roughen edges and we're going to drop that onto the shadow. Now this is going to give us that little kind of glistening of light, because the moon's not a perfect circle. It has mountains, it has craters, it has valleys, and this is just going to be a quick way to get that effect. Now I got this moon picture off of the internet. You can just Google moon and images. This is a high-res one. It is 2580 by 2452, and as you can see, it's very big. So we're going to downscale it, and we're going to try and get it the same size as the comp. So let's move it aside here. Let's rescale it just a little bit. And we're going to see if we can match it up exactly the same as that circle. We're going to go up here to screen so we can actually see the circle behind it. We're going to place it over, and we're going to try and line it up as best as possible. As you can see, you can use the arrow keys to move it up and down, side to side, and just kind of feng shui it into place. We're going to turn the scale down, maybe 35. Nope. Wait, we're going to change it to 35.2, see what that does. And that gets us really close. Now we just need to move it down a little bit. Let's do that. Okay, so now we have this full moon, but it's a little bright. It's not going to be that bright in an eclipse, so we're going to add exposure, and we're going to turn it down a lot. Let's just keep going, keep dragging. You just barely want to make out that crater on the bottom. Not too black. We're going to just enough so that you can see that little tiny bit of detail at the bottom there, right there. Okay, that looks about good. Now, of course, you don't want, like, it's not going to be perfect blackness, and it's not going to be just emptiness. So what we're going to do is change the shadow.
Open a new comp.
Now what you want to do is take those three and you want to pre-compose them. We're going to call this Eclipse.
Okay, so we got
light.
Eclipse 2.
We're going to move all attributes, and now we have to comp
Google.
all
You can
three
get
of
any size
those.
you want.
If
The
you go in
bigger,
here,
the better,
the
you
shadow
have
is
more
what you're going to
detail.
want to move.
This is just a picture
when you
of
want
the
to
full
move
moon.
the moon.
You can get
So
100
what we
of
got to
these
do is we got to take that
in
full
a
moon
year
image,
from all
the
different
picture of the
sources.
moon,
I just
and we need to parent
popped it in
that
right there.
to shadow. We
You're
need
gonna have to
when
resize
we
it, of
move the
course.
shadow. We need to be moving the shadow and the moon at the
So
same
let's do
time.
that. Bloop. Solid.
Okay, now if we come out to the
We're gonna
Eclipse,
call this one.
we're going to add a quick glow
Shadow.
effect, and that's just going to give us that nice little
What?
rim light that we want.
So now we got a
turn
shadow
down
here, right?
Threshold a little, maybe
But
turn
what do we have to
intensity
do
a tad,
to get that shadow?
and give us
I'm gonna
that
turn off the
nice little
moon.
radius
And
that
we're
just
gonna
makes
take
it
this
look
shadow,
like light
and
is
we're gonna
coming
draw
from behind
a
this
circle.
dark object.
Now it has to
We're
be
gonna add a new
a
solid.
perfect circle. So
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
call
hold
this
down shift, and you don't have to make it
fractal.
center or anything like that. In fact,
And
if
we're
you
gonna
get
add,
it just
can
off
you guess
center,
what
it looks more
effect
real
we're gonna
because
add? That's
no one
right,
can actually get the moon
fractal
perfectly
noise.
centered in your frame,
This is
right?
the
You don't want
noise
perfection. You
color.
want those little tiny errors that make it look a little bit more real.
Now we're gonna
So
drop
we're just gonna
that
drag
right there on
and drop,
top of
hold
that
down shift to
fractal
get
layer,
that perfect circle.
and that'll give us this weird cloudy effect.
Again,
Now what you
it's
want to
not
do is
perfect.
you
We're
want
gonna
to
change it so it's
the
a little bit flawed.
basic
That's
to
right.
dynamic.
Boom.
That's right.
Yeah, turn this
Getting
on
dynamic
transparent just
in
so you
this
can
color.
see what is
We're gonna
happening.
invert
We
because
got
you
the
don't
perfect
want the
circle right
clouds. You
here.
want that nice little energy,
It's
right?
a little off kilter.
And this
I
is
don't know
basically
why.
going to be the rays coming off of the sun. And so we're going to turn up contrast just a little bit, turn down the brightness, give us that nice black, and we're going to change the complexity because we're going to be zooming in on this a little bit.
Same size.
What we're going to do is we're going to change the
Then we're gonna
evolution,
take these
and
two
we're
and
going to
we're
make
gonna
this,
pre-comp
we're going to go about 4 seconds to make this
pre-comp
comp
them.
4 seconds long. I know my other
Pre-comp
video was
in
5 seconds,
two.
but we're just going to make this one 4. We're going to change the
Eclipse.
evolution just so it evolves a little bit,
Comp, and I'm
not
gonna
too
call
much.
this two
I'm going to go to
because I
transform.
already got one. I don't want to get
And
them
we're going to
confused.
change the
We're gonna
offset
select
turbulence.
remove all attributes.
Now you want
and we're
this
gonna hit
to
OK.
move up.
We're going
Or
to
you
go
want
into
this to
this
move down,
eclipse
so we're going
comp
to move
where
it
the
and shift
shadow
it
and
just up a
the
little
sun
bit.
are. Sun.
And it's not too much, you just want a little bit of
You got the
radiation
shadow.
coming off
And
of
what we're going to do
that
is we're going to
sun.
come over here to
Because
our
if
effects.
you've ever seen the sun through a
Now
telescope,
we're gonna get
granted don't
roughen
just look
edges.
plainly at a telescope, but
This is just
if
a
you've ever
quick
looked at it,
little
it just has a
boom,
little
you know,
bit.
get
We're
it
gonna
to
add
looking right.
effect
You
polar
can add other
coordinates,
effects, of course.
right?
You can play around
Now if you
with
look,
it. You
it changes it to
get an
something that
actual
we just
picture
can't
of the
use.
moon
So what you want to do
and
first is you want to go
can model it
to
after that and cut
polar
it out
to
and everything, but
and you want to
we
change
just
that from
need
rectangular
quick
to
little
polar. And now when you
thing
do
here
it, you
that's
get
gonna
this
show those little
nice
bumps and
perfect
stuff from the
circle.
sun, so you get those
right?
little tiny
Now,
light
as we
pieces
scroll through, you can see
come
that
off.
it's moving
because
outward,
as
and
we all
that's
know,
what
the
you want.
sun's
You want
not,
the radiation
the moon's
to
not
move
perfectly
outward.
round. It looks round
But
from
as
far
you can
away,
see,
but
you see that little
up close
line
has
up
those
top.
canyons
Don't worry
and
about that
mountains
because
and peaks and
by the time we're
craters.
done with this, you won't be able to even
We're just
see
gonna do
that
that
line. We're going to
And
add
this
so
is
much and take
kinda
away
good.
so
We're
much
just
that it's
gonna
just not
change
going to make an
it up
effect.
just a
But
little
you need the
bit.
fractal behind the moon,
You have to play
and
with
we have a
this to get
square
it
there.
your,
So what we forgot to do
correct
was
settings. You
mask
don't
out
want
the
this to
moon.
be just a little
So we have that black background
weird.
there. So what we're going to need to do is take
Everything
the
being
ellipse
perfect.
tool and try and get
You
as
don't want
close as
everyone to look
possible
the
to
same,
the
right?
edges of the moon.
We
And
can get these
just
little
get the
tiny
size down, and you
light
can
streaks here
rearrange it and
coming
move it
out.
later. Like we got a little low on it, but that's okay if we click the mask.
Scale
We can just move that
down
up
a
a
notch.
little bit using the arrow keys, and that looks pretty good. You got
That
it
looks
really close to it.
You get a nice little
move
bumpy
it just
round
a little
image.
bit more with the
It's
arrow
not perfectly
keys,
round, but it's
and that looks like it's in
roundish,
place.
you know. I just hit the mic.
So now if we go back to this comp tool, you can see that
All right.
the moon
We're going to go
is
to
a little
evolution.
offset,
We're
not exactly centered. But you
stopwatch
don't
it.
want it
We
perfectly
don't need
centered
this to be
because
12
then
seconds long.
it's
do
going
it?
to look
No.
weird. So just
Let's
move
just
your
bump it down to
radiation
4.
behind your
I know
moon.
mine's 5, but you can
If you've ever
change it
noticed,
however you
people who
want.
film things don't really
you
get
can make it as long
perfect
as you want.
center.
You can
They
have
don't
it
get
the whole
exactly right.
moon cycle.
So what we're going to do
for,
here
like,
is
what,
mask out
16
the
hours or something
radiation.
crazy like that?
Nope. We
Yeah.
forgot to make that a
Get
comp. So
down
we're going
with
to
your bad
pre-compose
self.
that first. Move all attributes
But seriously,
to
people.
fractal comp.
We don't want
And we're
edge
gonna click
color.
OK.
We want roughen.
And now we're going to mask out
looks
that
about
comp.
right.
And we want this to
Stopwatch
just
the
roughly
evolution,
be
which is gonna set a
around the
keyframe,
same size as
and
the
then we're
moon,
gonna go
but we want it just a
here.
little bit bigger
make sure we
because
get
we want that
set at the
radiation to
beginning.
show coming from
Yeah.
behind the moon.
And go to the end.
Just to make the sun look a little bit
Don't
bigger,
mark it,
but
or
like
past
it's
the end, whatever.
like it's
We're just gonna
radiating that heat
change
and that
this
light.
so that the surface of the
Of course, we gotta center this up on
because
the
the
moon,
light coming.
and then
This is
we're
really
going
just blocking
to
light from
feather
the
it.
sun.
And when you
it's
feather
not
it, it's
perfect.
going
It's
to
gonna
add a
have those
little bit more course, we
shimmers
got
and
to
shines.
take that
And we want-
expansion and just shrink
We're
it
just
down
gonna
a
do
little
that.
bit. We
In
want
fact, we're
this
gonna
just
bump it up
barely
a little
visible.
bit more.
It doesn't have to
maybe.
be too dramatic unless that's the look you're
So
going
that when we
for.
scroll through this,
Um,
it changes those edges
We
quite
just want a very
frequently.
subtle radiation coming off of that
There we go.
sun.
Maybe
Just
not
like
that
light
frequently.
rays coming from behind the moon.
It's actually
And then we're going
turn
to
this
go
down.
and click on adjustment layer. We're going to add an adjustment layer
2
and add tint to the entire
and
cone.
half maybe.
And then we're going to
There.
add Color Vibrance. Now,
Alright.
Color Vibrance is a
So that-
free plugin that you
Now
can get
that
from Video
looks
Copilot. You don't have to
actually
pay
pretty
for it.
good.
It's just
doesn't
it
move
takes
too
black
fast,
and white
doesn't move
objects
too
and
slow.
just adds
You can
that
scrub through this as
extra
fast
color
as you
to
want,
it.
just
Now,
as long
as
as you
you
have
can
a
see,
rough
it got rid
estimate
of
of
the
how it's going to look
radiation.
from second to
We're
second.
going to change the color
And it
first.
looks like we got
We're gonna
that
deal
good.
with that.
And now we just need
And
the
we're going to change
sun.
this
We're
color
gonna come
to
down
be
here to
more of a
mask.
sun color. Not too orange, but
And
not
you
too
can either
white either.
expand this one or
You'll
shrink
notice when
the
the
shadow.
moon blocks the sun
It's up
rays,
to
it
you.
blocks a
However
lot
you
of that blue
feel
light, and
is the
what's
best.
left
We're
over
just
is
going
that
to
red
expand
and
the
that
edges a
infrared
little
light.
bit. Turn it on so we can
Okay,
see
so
it.
we're going to go to Effects,
And now
Color,
so we can
and
see the white,
Exposure.
and that
We're going to
looks
bring that
actually
exposure above the color
pretty good.
vibrance.
Now it's done.
And this allows
Doesn't
us to
matter
change
how
it to where we can get
looks.
that
It
extra
can be a perfect
radiation
circle
coming
because
out.
we're going
But
to add
as you can
something
see,
to
it
that later to
changes
make
the
it
brightness
not
of the
so
moon as well. And the moon
But that
can't
looks
be
about
too
good.
bright because
And
this
if you
is the
wanted to
dark
change
side.
this to a crescent
You
moon,
get that light
let's
coming from
say you
behind
want
the
to just
object, you
move
want it to
this
be
over
a little
some,
bit darker. So we're going to go into Ellipse
voila,
light,
you got the whole
Eclipse
crescent.
light, I
Or
mean.
if you wanted to make
And
it
we're going to adjust the
moon's
fractal
further away from the
itself.
sun, you can just shrink this down a little bit.
So what we're going to do
and
is
then
we're
it'll
going
give
to
you
go
the
to
whole
Effects,
ring effect.
Exposure,
Right.
and this is where we're going to bring
And there's
up
a
the
perfect
light
ring.
on
Boom.
that fractal comp. I'm going to make it a little bit brighter so we can see it. And we're going to bring that exposure up, and we're going to make that light a little bit more visible. See, now when we go into the Eclipse comp, you can actually see that radiation coming off of it in an orange glow. Alright, but now we're going to go into Eclipse light. I keep saying ellipse. We're going to take that shadow, and we're just going to drag that a little off. See, the moon is going to be moving, and when you move the moon, this is the shadow. The shadow is going to be the element that you move to move the moon from behind the sun. And so we're going to add a little keyframe here, and we're going to make it so that it goes from partial eclipse to an actual total eclipse. We're going to add another keyframe there, and then we're going to take the sun, we're going to take the mask, and we're just going to expand that mask a little bit to give you that nice little ring light. Now you can make it look like the moon is farther from the earth, or you can make it look like the moon is really close to the earth just by changing this outline of the sun, just the expansion of that mask. So now we have a nice ring light going if we go back to our Eclipse comp. And then we're going to go to that adjustment layer, and we're going to change... Oh no, wait, first we got to take the fractal comp, and we just got to change that radiation exposure a little. And we're going to take the solid, we're going to say... Now we need to add that light coming off of that. So we're going to add a new layer, a solid, and we're going to call this flare, and we're going to add the effect optical flares from Video Copilot. Now you can add your normal flare, or you could add like a flare taken from the internet. It doesn't matter. As long as you get what you're looking for, and you can use the elements that you find, that's great. That's really all you're doing, is working with what you got and tweaking it as best as you can. I mean, each one's going to look a little different. No one's going for the exact same perfect effect, as you can see. That was weird, there's a fly on me. But we're going to pick this one. It looks pretty decent. We're going to change from on black render mode to on transparent so we can see through it. And instead of hitting screen mode, because screen kind of takes away from that little vibrance of the light, that dynamic look, we're just going to leave it on transparent. And we're going to change the color to make it look a little bit more like the color from the light of the sun. And the sun is actually a little orange in our comp, so we're going to make it a little orange. And that looks about right. We're just going to click OK. I'm going to move that to a little bit on the top there, just so it's not perfectly in the middle of the eclipse. Now if we come up here, you can change the brightness of the comp, of the flare, sorry. And we're going to dim that down because it gets a little bit dimmer the more the sun is eclipsed by the moon. And then we're going to move it back to the beginning, and we're going to make that lens flare brighter, showing that the sun's actually showing a very bright light off of that. And now if we go to we're going to create a new layer. It's going to be a solid, and this is going to be the background layer. We're going to call it BG for background. And it doesn't matter what color you make it, because we're going to add an effect to it later called ramp, gradient ramp. And we're going to throw that on there. And now you want to change the black to a very dark orange. Something that just barely off of black. And then we're going to change the white to all black. I don't know why they made that the opposite. I don't know. The only thing I've ever used this ramp for is a radial ramp, and I've always used the top for the lighter color and the bottom for black. But we're going to change that just to the middle of this moon. We're going to make that start of ramp just like the middle of the moon or the sun or where the light source is coming from. Because your background is not going to be a perfect black when you're recording. It's always going to have that light affecting. Like when you look at the stars in the middle of a city, it's where you look at the stars in the middle of the country. You're going to see a lot more light because that light pollution isn't blocking it all. You don't have the city lights blocking all that starlight. So we're going to change this color to a darker orange. We're going to make it just barely visible. And we're going to unsolo that. And we're going to make this background just look like there's light radiating from a center point coming off of that sun. And then as we scroll through here, you can see as the moon moves, it changes a little bit. But we're not exactly finished yet. We got this cloud. I just downloaded a picture off of Google again. You can just add one. This is kind of big because I'm going to be using just a portion of it. I'm going to rescale it and get it into position. I believe this is the part of the picture I used last time. And we're going to add a slight Gaussian blur. Now you can use legacy or regular. It really doesn't matter. They're both going to work the same for this effect. And we're going to go to Keying, Key Light 2.0, and we're going to take the eyedropper and just click the bluest part of this picture. And that's going to take away all the blue and just leave us with just the clouds. But as you can see, those clouds are pretty darn bright. We're going to need to change the exposure on this and just bring it way down. Again, you want the light on the other side of these clouds, so you're not going to be able to see too much. But as you can see, the clouds are like blocking the light of the sun, depending on how thick they are, and that's what you're really going for. You want that light blocked by that light, or the light blocked by the clouds. And we're going to resize this just a little bit, bring it up there, move it into position to where we can see some of the light is blocked by the clouds, but not that beautiful lens flare, because we want that lens flare, right guys? And then we're going to keyframe the position of this layer, and we're going to just move it over just subtly. Now, to get the cloud movement and that cloud shape, make it look like the clouds are really changing shape, we're going to add a turbulent displacement to the clouds. And we're going to change the amount down to 25, change the size to about 70. And that's just going to change the area of effect of these circles. Because if you turn up the amount, here's what's going to happen. It's going to change in the swirling motion, and the size affects the size of those swirls. So we're going to leave that at 25, and then we're going to keyframe the evolution. We're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to change the amount to about 30, and the evolution just up forward some. And as you see now that the clouds move, they kind of change form, not just like a still picture moving in front of the camera. But we're actually going to change the exposure down some more, make it look like those clouds are almost black. There we go, about -6, -5.5. And then as you keyframe forward, you can see these clouds moving, the moon is moving, the light from the sun is dimming, and you get that nice little ring light effect from the moon. And that, my friends, is pretty much it. That is all we've added to this comp. And that is how I did the solar eclipse of the sun, or solar eclipse. And there's not much to it. You get that nice little lens flare, you got the light coming off, you got everything moving in motion, you got the clouds for the atmospheric effect. You can change the position of the lens flare. Let's see here, we can make it move just ever so slightly to make it look like it's coming to the bigger part of the light of the sun and just slowly moving downwards and fading away. And that's even more than I did before. I mean, that's adding icing to the cake right there, if I'm being honest. And it's very simple, 2D layers, effects. No, you don't have to use 3D or Element 3D or anything like that. It's just simple motion, and it looks pretty good from here. I mean, you guys can be the judge. I mean, I would use it. You can use this for a movie. You can change the color just with a simple twist of the color from the optical flare and the color from the color vibrance effect that we added onto the comps. I mean, you could go for an alien planet that maybe has a green sun or a blue sun. You could change all of this to be a different planet blocking the sun if you wanted. And it's just like the sky's the limit with these. The sky's the limit. No pun intended. You can change this to the effect whatever you wanted, and it would be used in whatever way that you used it. There's, I don't know, endless possibilities. And it's really just fine-tuning the look you're going for. You can change the size of the moon. You can change the size of the sun, even to being eclipsed by this giant, massive planet. You could even go in there and add a space station if you wanted to eclipse the sun. It's really not that hard if you know a little bit about After Effects. But that is it for my show, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. I certainly enjoyed doing it for you guys. If you like it, go ahead and hit the like button. If you didn't, go ahead and don't. It's free will, after all. If you really like the episode, you can subscribe and follow me on these social media sites. I'm on YouTube as AFChem or Media Induced, as my show is. And you can watch different tutorials or my show there. I show you how to do some crazy stuff. You can shoot an entire episode with our cell phone once. And you can play a game with us on Xbox Live. I do gaming videos. You can follow us on Facebook under Blue Rainbow Productions. And you can shoot us an email at mediainduced@gmail.com and tell us what you liked about the show, what you didn't like, what you want to see. Maybe save me a link to your videos and what you guys did of your eclipses. And so, like me up on there, and yeah, get back to me. Watch our next video when we play some games or get an entire village run out of town by a massive meteor. I don't know. We'll see you next time. Enjoy.